A pagan temple at that time was a small round building with stairs leading up to an altar in the middle. Usually the people gathered around the temple and worshipped while standing outside. Across the street from some of these pagan temples, Constantine commissioned Christian meeting places. These buildings were not shaped like pagan temples, but like government civic auditoriums. Christians had always met inside, but it was in the inside of homes. Here, for the first time, stood officially designated places for Christians to meet. This was a wonder which no Christian had ever seen. Put another way, it was in 324, almost 300 years after the birth of the church, that Christians first met in something we now call a church building. So there's your history lesson. Okay? That's where the church buildings came from. And then later on in that reading, it talks about why there were pews and seats brought in and whatever. But you get the gist. Okay? You get the gist. So let me ask you this. How many of you struggle in serving the church because you don't really know what your gifts are? Don't really know. Okay, turn to Romans. Turn to Romans. And we're going to be Romans 12. 6 through 8. God has given each of us the ability to do certain things well. So if God has given you the ability to prophecy, speak out when you have faith that God is speaking through you. If your gift is that of serving others, serve them well. If you are a teacher, do a good job of teaching. If your gift is to encourage others, do it. If you have money, share it generously. If God has given you leadership ability, take the responsibility seriously. And if you have the gift for showing kindness to others, do it gladly. I want you to look across the landscape of who we have seen. New Christians, old Christians, excited Christians, lazy Christians, whatever. There's probably not one of us that are the same with what our gifts are. Does he say, well, if you don't really, I gave you gifts, but you don't really have to use them if you don't want to? I don't think he says that, does he? I don't think he says that. Carry on to verse 9. Don't just pretend that you love others. Really love them. Hate what is wrong. Yeah. Stand on the side of good. Yeah. Love each other with genuine affection and take delight in honoring each other. Never be lazy in your work, but serve the Lord enthusiastically. What does that tell us? Does anybody want to argue that God is not the greatest in the entire in our lives? Anybody? No? So that if he's the greatest thing that has ever happened to us, why do we serve him or not serve him in a manner that doesn't mirror how we feel about him? Number 2, God calls you to serve as his church. Go back to Matthew chapter 5. We're going to be in verse 14 through 16. You are the light of the world, like a city on a mountain, glowing in the night for all to see. Don't hide your light under a basket. Instead, put it on a stand and let it shine for all. In the same way, let your good deeds shine out for all to see, so that everyone will praise your heavenly Father. We all think we're good people. But as we talked about 2 weeks ago, good people don't go to heaven, right? Amen. Forgiven people go to heaven. Right. Well, let me add to that. Forgiven people are not saved by their good works. Forgiven people are saved for good works. Why? Because Scripture says, let them see. Don't let them hear. Let them see. Let them see. Let me ask you a very personal question, and if you want to answer, answer, and if you don't, don't. In the last 7 days, since we met last week, how many people would know by the way that you live that you're different? I'm going to stand up and I'm going to say, yeah. I'm going to say, yeah. Yep. How many people would know that you're different by what they see in you? Because Scripture says, let them see. It doesn't say, let them hear. Because we can speak and act and they don't match. But if you act, that defines pretty much who you are, right? Lost people, people who don't know Christ, should be able to look at us and say, I'm not quite sure what they believe, but boy, they believe it. Not quite sure what they believe, but as Steve Clark so eloquently put it last week, we leave a residue when we leave. Powerful word. We leave a residue when we leave. So, the question is, are you a spiritual consumer or are you a spiritual contributor?